Andy's getting quite frustrated because something's wrong on his audio input. I think he's just spoken to me, but I can't hear him. He looks like he hasn't shaved in a few days. He needs to dye his hair again. His roots are coming through. It's not going well for Andrew Muggleton at the moment.
Hello and welcome to Bomb Squad, an In Dreams Club PlayStation podcast. My name is Andrew Muggleton, and as always, I am joined by my lovely host, Chris Sloan. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, locked down.
Chugging along in lockdown.
Chugging along. Been thinking a lot about Timothée Chalamet.
Oh yes. The young actor.
I thought what I'd do is, because obviously we're in lockdown, and because it's the latest we've ever recorded, so I'm kind of at my peak. Normally we record in the middle of the day, and but this is the time when I come alive.
This is when you come alive. Yeah.
I thought I'd just every now and then I'll just chuck something at you, and I want you to. What it's going to be is you're going to have to tell me stuff about Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah,
because I think for like general population, of which I would consider myself, he's sort of come out of nowhere. 1 minute there's no, 1 minute there's no Timothée Chalamet, and now
next minute everywhere
I look, everywhere I look, there's Timothy.
Probably,
so,
arguably like one of the hottest actors in the world right now.
Now, when you say that, do you mean as in like, everyone wants him in their films, or
I'm in it every way.
Okay, no judgment here.
No
judgment. Just be prepared for that, because every now and then I'm going to ask you something about it.
Are you doing it right now?
No.
So you could just pop at any point.
Yeah, just be prepared.
Okay,
you need to. I'm going to ask you something about him, and you need to know it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to start over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure you're going to drop some knowledge or a question on me at some point during this podcast, but over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start writing down facts about him all over my arms so that I'm always ready.
Okay.
And very prepared.
Well, it was just for this episode, really, because...
Oh, fine. Okay, well, I'll just remain on my guard then. This
is episode 24 of Bomb Squad. Yeah. And how old is Timothée Chalamet?
I reckon he's 24.
I have no idea. Honestly, that's your first question. How old is Timothée Chalamet?
Oh, my God. Okay.
I think he might be younger than that,
Timothée Chalamet. This is riveting podcasts. Oh my goodness, he's 24.
No,
he is. Born on the 27th of December 1995. This is unbelievable. What a coincidence.
I'm going to edit that so that it looks like you knew it straight off the top of your head.
Oh my goodness, perfect. Thank you. Wow. What a coinky dink, as they say. Incredible. Yeah. Right. Well, let's talk about some games. And specifically, let's talk about what games we've been playing recently over the last couple of weeks. I'll kick us off.
Go for it.
Because I have obviously, because we spoke about it previously, been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. We'll talk. I know you have as well. We'll talk more about that in the second half of the episode, because we're going to kind of dedicate that half to it. But in terms of other things, I've also started and finished The Outer Wilds. Now, this is the wilds, not the worlds. This is the small kind of indie game, not the giant space RPG. This, I remember seeing the debut trailer for this. I think it was at E3 2018 on the Microsoft stage. And thinking, that looks kind of cool, but whatever, because it was exclusive to them and PC for a while. But I picked it up a little while ago due to some positive feedback from people, and I was absolutely spellbound by this game over the course of
Awesome.
kind of 3 to 4 days. Every day I'd be compelled to play like 5 or 6 hours at a time. And yeah, I just thought it was an unbelievable experience, and especially
I know that obviously like last year, like 2019 was when it came time for everyone to like drop their game of the years and stuff. Like everyone seemed to pick something different, and I think Outer Wilds, was it like Polygon or someone like that?
I think it was
gave it their game of the year.
Polygon and Eurogamer, both of them.
Oh, cool.
And then just
the thing is, I just got no idea. Like what are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
so I would tell you. But the reason why I suddenly was like, because I'd bought it a couple of weeks or a month or two ago, and I was like, oh, I'd like to get around to that because I've heard good things. And I saw that Eurogamer gave it and Polygon gave it their game of the year, so I was like, oh, I'm interested. And then it won the BAFTA for best game as well. And that was where I was kind of like, the BAFTAs are normally pretty solid with their voting kind of on games and stuff. So maybe I'll check this out sooner rather than later. So the premise, let me kind of get up the details of the game as well, because there's a few words that I know I'll mess up if I don't. So you, literally the game starts, it's got a fantastic soundtrack. It's all kind of like folky, banjos and stuff like that. Really, really cool soundtrack. You basically wake up and you're around a campfire roasting a marshmallow with your friend, and you are what's called, I think they are, where's the name? Hearthonians? Where is it? Hearthians. So you're an alien race called Hearthians. They're genderless and they have 4 eyes. So they're quite funny looking. And you wake up there with your friend, and you just go and chat to him. It's all kind of whimsical graphics. Kind of, it's not super like realistic looking or anything. It's quite kind of cartoony. And he's kind of saying, "Oh, are you excited about your first day into space?" And you basically, none of it's voice acted, so it comes out text, and then you select your answer out of 4 answers, for example, and you basically just chat to him about that this is your first day going into outer space as an astronaut, and you're going to go kind of searching the universe, but you have to get the flight codes to launch your little ship, and you go back down into the town that you live in, and you meet a load of people there, and eventually you get the codes, and then you get in your ship and you fly off the planet and into space. And it's at that moment, basically, when you get the flight codes, that's kind of up until there, it's just aimless wandering and getting to know the place and why you're there, kind of. Once that happens, there is like a line put in the sand, the proverbial sand of this game, and from then on, there is a 22-minute timer ticking away, unbeknownst to you, in the background. So you fly off this planet. You go. I think there's 5 different planets that are in this universe with a sun at the middle, and you just go fly off and try and find things. You are told that there's kind of 4 or 5 other Hearthian astroneers kind of who had gone out to all the other planets and had set up base in each of them, but we hadn't heard from one of them for a long time, or we keep on talking to the other one. You've got a moon. Most of the planets have moons as well. So there's someone living on the moon currently. So I first of all straight away went up to the moon, landed there, kind of saw the little flag that someone had put in for the first ever voyage into space, and then went and found the guy who lived on the moon with it. He's planted a load of little trees, and he's got a little banjo, and he's whistling, I think. And he said, "We're whistling this song." And so I just went and started chatting to him, and he's like, "Oh yes, I'm quite lonely up here. Kind of, I don't really get to talk to people much more." And then you find out that he keeps on sending little camera robots down to the planet and spying on everyone. And you can be like, "That's a bit freaky and a bit weird, isn't it?" And he's like, no, it's just for research kind of and stuff. So it's quite like whimsical in the way it goes about. But on my first time through, and this isn't a spoiler because this is the crux of the game, I was there chatting to him, and suddenly the music really swelled up, and I was thinking, what the hell? This is pretty epic for just a random little chat I was having with this guy. And then I looked over at the sun, and it was suddenly really red, and I was like, what? And then about 30 seconds later, you just see the sun suddenly go into absolutely nothing and then explode. And it's the blue kind of wave comes all the way out across the universe and destroys everything going. And when that happens, it then kind of repeats your day back in like really, really quick motion. And then you wake up again and you are at the campfire with your friend chatting. But now you've got the code so you can just go straight to the ship and fly off and do whatever you were doing. So you're basically stuck in this Groundhog Day loop of 22 minutes and each time you do anything or find anything, you have a log in your ship, and that's updated with this kind of like you know how like in a mystery film, the police officer has the big cork board with all the pictures with red like string going between all the suspects and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you've got like one of those. It's called like the rumor map, and you've got one of that of all the planets and all the bits of information you find, and it links them all together once you find out that information. And there's a lot of reading kind of little logs that are left flying about and stuff. But the idea is basically you go out to meet these other Harthians who have flown off to these other planets, and from there it naturally falls into this flow of you're trying to uncover this mystery because there's this ancient alien race that visited your planet once ages ago, and they left this statue, and you're kind of trying to work out who these aliens were, why they were here, are they still alive, are they still out there and stuff. And that's the kind of central mystery that drives the game. And I was just so smitten with how it naturally falls into place with everything, because you just go off and you're like, right, I'm gonna go find these other guys on these planets, and then all of a sudden there's this ton of story that starts seeping out through chatting to people or finding audio logs or finding maps in places, and it gave me a really cool sense of aha moments, like constantly. So do you remember The Witness? Every now and then with that you would have a puzzle and you would be stumped or something, and then you'd get it right and you'd be like, man, I'm a genius for working that out. Like, even though the game has been teaching you, you'd be like, I'm so proud that I did that type of thing. This game just is littered with that I was constantly thinking, I'm so clever that I've just sorted this out. But actually the game's been telling you that from like the first 30 seconds you loaded it up. It gave you a massive hint about what you just found and stuff. So everything's laid out perfectly. And for a game which is, I think it was probably about kind of I probably spent about 16, 17 hours or so with it. And I think I looked up one thing at one point just because I was banging my head against a wall and I realised I was being really stupid and I wasn't thinking properly. But everything else I thought was amazing, how well it actually naturally showed you everything and taught you things over the course of this period of time. Then you kind of attempt to solve all these mysteries. But I really cannot express how flawed I was at how good this game was. Like, it's right up there now in my probably like some of my favorite games I've ever played. I would put it up there. I'm so impressed with it. And
cool.
Yeah, so really, really cool story. Very, very kind of narrative heavy and quite emotional as well, which I really didn't expect. So yeah, that's The Outer Wilds. I think it's actually currently on sale on the PSN store for like 13 quid. I think it's normally like 18 or 19 quid, and this game should cost 40 at least. I would have, if this had cost 60 quid and I paid that and bought it and played it, I would not have complained at all about paying 60 quid for it. So yeah, that's The Outer Wilds.
Cool.
It's a very, very cool game. But yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, I obviously finished the Final Fantasy VII Remake a while ago, probably like a week and a bit ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm losing track of time.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just kind of like haven't really played a lot. And then the other day, I jumped into. I started playing two things. I started playing Tales of Berseria, which is a JRPG from Bandai Namco, which is a massive series, the Tales series, absolutely like huge, loads of games in it. And I've never played any of them. And this one is, it's quite a cool place to jump in because they kind of went with a much like darker tone to it.
Cool.
Like for example, your main character ends up being like infected with this like demon stuff, and you're kind of like a villain. Like one of the whole beginning parts of the game is you busting out of this prison that you've been kept in because you're a demon, and like meeting other party members who are all kind of like bad guys. And the but obviously like the twist being that the person who is like the ultimate savior was actually awful and did something terrible to someone that you was like your family member, and so you're like going out for revenge. So it's cool. It's quite different in how it plays, because like most of the stuff that I've been playing, like I've obviously played Dragon Quest, I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I've also been dipping my toes back into like older Final Fantasy games, which are all kind of to an extent turn-based ish. Whereas this is sort of like really combo heavy. So like triangle, square, circle, X all have some kind of attack mapped to them, and then you get a certain number of moves, and so doing a specific combo will hit this type of enemy really well. So I think there's gonna be a lot of like trying to memorize what works well against different types of enemies and going from there. I've not really got. I've only done the first like mission really, so I haven't like unlocked other party members and stuff, so I don't know how quite how deep it's going to go. But yeah, it came out in like 2016.
Is this Bereria? Tales of Bereria.
Yes,
yeah. I love some of the names of these games.
But the thing is, they all sound like exactly the same.
Tales of Bereria, Cysteria.
So it was so confusing to find out like, which one should I actually play? And I think this is the most recent one.
I looked like there's a 2020 one as well.
Yeah.
Tales of Arise. Oh, but it hasn't come out yet.
So it's supposed to come out this year, I think. I don't know if it's I haven't really like been following it at all. But I kind of like the beginning of this one, how it is, and then so I might potentially play Tales of Arise if I enjoy this. But yeah, like not played very much of it. Both these games that I'm going to talk about now, I played one like literally in the same 2 hours together. And then the other one was A Plague Tale. Which you've talked about loads before. I started it off. I've played the first 2 chapters.
Cool.
So it's probably like an hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Nice.
I really like the so I'm assuming it's set in France. I don't know if it's actually been said it's set in France.
It is. Yeah.
Obviously, like around like I guess when the plague is. And it's cool. I really like the look of everything. How everything's so grim. Like you've got this sort of like, they start off and they're in like their really fancy clothes and everything, but then everything is just so grim as well.
It's so dark so quickly in that game.
Yeah. Like they've got this sort of probably like minor noble family. And you're playing the eldest daughter. And you get the impression that everything's been kind of like quite nice for her in her life. Obviously, there's some weird stuff. I don't know. I've only played the first 2 chapters, but and then end of chapter 1, whole world's turned upside down, and then goes on the run, that sort of thing. Her as a character, I think it's Amicia. Yeah, she's really cool. Certainly have not quite warmed to Hugo.
Little Hugo. Man, he
I don't know, like his
so you go.
I think like his there's something about his voice just like grates me a little bit when like there was, I think, and this is the sort of thing, like I think I was texting you and I was like, this is going to be one of those games where you're just stressed the whole time. And there's part, I think quite a lot of chapter 1 and chapter 2 that I've played so far is you're sort of like rushing away from people who are just going to kill you in one hit if you get caught. And I think like towards the end of chapter 2 or something, you're trying to get out of a door and you have to like, you pass him through a window and he's like fumbling to unlock it from the other side. There's someone coming towards you, and then
That scene particularly as well is like the most annoying bit of him, because as well, doesn't he throw? You're like trying to be quiet and hide, and he throws a temper tantrum, and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, kids.
Yeah, I think that's just that's like a bit before that.
Yeah, I think there's a point where I was suddenly like, ooh, I really like him now. I really like him. But he's such a little brat boy kind of, and his voice is, oh, Amicia, can you help me, please?
Yeah.
It's so like that. But no, I think
it's funny as well because they like kind of build the world really well, and from what I've seen so far, and what I really like is seeing the when they get away from their sort of family manor or whatever, and then they're in a town that's got a problem with the plague, and like they're having to like put crosses on doors and stuff, and then you're seeing the like common people's reaction to like these like noble people trying to like get help, and then no one like looking out for them or anything. So I like that sort of thing. But it's funny like how Amicia has got this like really thick French accent, and then there's just sort of like some of the voice actors are just like, nah.
We don't have the budget to get full French voice actors for this, so we're just chucking a couple of Cockney guys here and there or something like that. It's the classic.
And I like as well how it's like,
I was going to say, it's like the classic like Witcher
chapter
3.
2.
Sorry,
you go. Go on, mate.
I was going to say it's the classic similar thing with like The Witcher 3 and having like a load of Cockney guys just suddenly pop up.
Yeah. But I like the end of chapter 2, you have sort of like a little boss fight against a dude who's got like he's got like really specific armor on, where you like with your sling, you like hit specific parts off until you can finally hit him in the head with a rock. And I was taking it kind of like I was like, oh, this is very easy, this isn't bad. And then it didn't click with me until towards the end that he was getting more aggressive the more armor that I knocked off him.
Yeah.
And so I knocked off his helmet, and then he just like rushed straight at him, and I was like, fucking shit. Man, I think I had like one rock left and I killed him. So I was like,
batter him in the head.
But what's funny is I think that they did a bit like just before that boss fight, you actually kill. There's another person, and you kill them.
Who's like threatening Hugo, is it, or something?
Yes. Yeah. That's, because Hugo runs away from you, and then this person's like about to kill him, and so you sling a rock at his head, and he dies. And then you're running up because Hugo's run off again, and you run up, and that's when the boss battle happens.
Yeah.
But it's when you kill the guy, Amicia suddenly, like, I think the camera, like, there's a bit of a tone change in like the color, and like her breathing is like, because she's just killed someone.
Yeah.
But I was like, fucking get put down, son. Like the game was like, oh my god, what have I done? And I was like, get down. It's quite funny.
I'm really looking forward to your impressions kind of as you go further on, because you turn into Nathan Drake, just like headshotting people left, right, and centre.
It reminded me of the Tomb Raider. You know the Tomb Raider. Did you play the Tomb Raider?
I didn't.
The new one.
I've seen pretty much everything of the first game, and I think most of the second one as well. But so I know the moment where she like kills her first person, then she just turns into a cold-blooded murderer. Yeah,
she like almost has a breakdown, and then the rest of the game is you just like sniping people in the head and like putting arrows in their neck for the rest of it.
Yeah.
So those are what I've been playing.
Cool.
Not really anything else. I think that's kind of it.
No, good stuff. Right, let's talk. There's a couple of little bits of news that I think we should probably chat about, and then maybe we'll play a game after that or something. But let's start out with, so the first thing I've got here is the Summer Game Fest, woo! Which is Jeff Keighley, he of Video Game Awards fame, has announced or has unveiled what they've called the Summer Game Fest, and this is from May till August, which is the kind of quote is an industry-wide celebration of gaming. What this actually is, no one's fully sure yet, but the kind of in the write-up of it, there's things like saying it's a 4-month-long all-digital consumer celebration of video games featuring breaking news, in-game events, and free playable content from the likes of CD Projekt Red, Sony, Microsoft, Riot Games, Digital Extremes, and Valve. So I feel like what this is Jeff Keighley publicly going, I'm not going to be part of E3 this year, and then the E3 being like, oh, okay, and then him going, and the reason I'm not doing that is because I'm basically just going to arrange my own 4-month-long E3 type of experience. Because it definitely felt like he's always been moving towards with the Game Awards. Like, this is an event type thing. People show up, like Microsoft showed off the Xbox Series X there. Like this, he's almost becoming the next E3 in terms of a stage. And people seem to, I think in the industry, they seem to really like the way he does stuff. He's always been quite highly regarded in that way. So I think we could see things like collaborations with the people mentioned, like Sony, Microsoft, CD Projekt Red, with hopefully showing off new games and maybe having demos of those games or having stuff happen in the games that they currently have out and stuff. So hopefully you'll still get that kind of hype and excitement of a big game show, but spread over several months with all the different people hopefully having their own chunk of time instead of having to go in someone else's press conference, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because obviously we've, we're a couple of days out from Microsoft doing a fairly big reveal of third-party games for the Series X. And obviously we're still, we're expecting the next few weeks or so to hear a bit more about the PS5.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting how much actually crosses over with this Summer Games Fest, or if these people are going to continue to have their own event.
Yeah.
But then Summer Games Fest just kind of talks about it or hosts some stuff. It's weird.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a really interesting point of it, is whether, right, so Microsoft have this event happening on Tuesday. Is this going to be co-hosted on the Summer Games Fest YouTube, Twitch and Mixer channels and stuff like that? Because they haven't said anything yet, but they are saying it's from May till August. So maybe that's kind of the way it happens, is that this is an umbrella that hosts and pushes all the different things that happen. It would be quite cool if that was the way. But yeah, I suppose we'll find out on Tuesday. Will be the first kind of litmus test for it. But it's amazing. So those were the main people that were mentioned, but I think there's another list here, which is 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Blizzard, Bungie, EA, Square Enix, Riot, Steam, Warner Bros. Everyone basically.
Were Ubisoft there at all?
No, they're not on that list.
Interesting. Cool, because it's interesting to look at that and to go, okay, who have they talked to and who has like not come in? Do you know what I mean? And Ubisoft have always been one of those. They've always been one of those companies that have always had their own event, but you've always kind of gone, have you needed your own event?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that.
Yeah,
but you said Bethesda was there.
Bethesda's there. It does say
okay.
Additional publishers will be revealed in the coming weeks. So the door's open, obviously, there. Bethesda are there. Warner Brothers, for some hopeful
it's gonna be big.
Batman stuff.
Maybe some Harry Potter stuff, man.
Harry Potter, yeah.
It's been rumoured for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bethesda one's interesting because what's next from them? It's Starfield, isn't it? But I feel like that's got to be ages away, unless it's something like whatever Arcane's been working on, or something like one of that, like them as a publishing division, not as a game studio.
Yeah,
because Machine Games have done Youngblood, so they probably won't be around for a while. I feel like Arcane I think they showed something at E3 last year with some time loop where there's two like assassins on an island together killing each other, and then it resets a loop, and then they have to redo it again, or something along those lines. So maybe that's what it is, or something like that. But yeah, so it says publisher-specific events will be streamed via Facebook, Mixer, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and he'll host pre- and post-show streams for certain flagship events. So that sounds very much like the pre- and post-show, kind of with maybe an interview with one of the lead directors of a game that's being shown off, or something like that.
And obviously, like, this is super cool for this year, considering that, during this time, whether or not we've got worldwide lockdown still by the end of this, there's still not going to be that option to have people cramming into an auditorium to see reveals and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see, like, is this, I honestly don't know because I haven't looked it up at all, but is this for this year? Is this an ongoing thing every year from now on?
Like? If we take the Game Awards as an example previously, I could imagine this becoming the new summer way of launching stuff, is kind of hosted with Summer Games Fest each year. Because if he publicly dropped out of E3, so I wouldn't imagine him going back to E3, for example, next year if it's even on.
I just can't see it. They've had so many people, like Sony gone. Obviously now he's gone. They publicly revealed every journalist's personal details out on, like, they're kind of, I don't know, it's not looking good for them.
No, not at all. I think one thing which I would like to see come from this, which they mentioned kind of in-game events and free playable content, it would be cool if there was more, because now that you say, for example, with E3, you have thousands of people go along to this event, they watch a big kind of showcase of games and trailers and stuff, and then they get to go on the floor and actually demo some of those games. It would be cool if with this now that was like a digital version of that. So Sony have this event, they show off stuff, and then here's a demo for this, and you just download it from on your PlayStation Store or wherever. It would be cool if that was a big aspect of it. They kind of push that. So we'll see with that. Hopefully Tuesday will give us some more idea with it. Otherwise, I'm sure it won't be long until we see our first official kind of Summer Game Fest thing. The next thing I've got here then is kind of a two-parter, which is to do with probably the main two exclusive PlayStation games to come this year, which is The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima have new release dates. So we have The Last of Us 2 is now coming out on June 19th, which is about another month or so delay from the May date. And then Ghost of Tsushima has now been pushed back to July 17th as well. So pretty much a month apart from each other, like they were previously, but just a month back. So yeah, have you got any thoughts on these?
Well, like, not especially. We knew that Ghost of Tsushima was going to get bumped back a bit, and it looks like their release date is very much reliant on what Last of Us was going to be.
Yeah. Absolutely, because it was a bit weird. It was a bit weird that they were kind of continuing. Like I saw even like a day or two before this announcement, like a Sony Twitter thing being like, "Ooh, getting ready for June to become a samurai" or something. I was like, "You're still pushing the June release date, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that." So that was a bit strange, but it's good to have them finally set in stone. Well, nothing's really set in stone, but hopefully set in stone now. But I suppose the bigger thing to talk about is The Last of Us 2 leaks, which has been pretty dramatic. So to
be
catch
careful
anyone,
out there, I guess.
With that's so. This isn't to say we're going to tell you what the leak is, because I actually haven't even properly seen it. I think they're not sure. Sony have just released a thing saying they found out who it was, and it's no one that's linked to Sony and Naughty Dog. So it wasn't a disgruntled employee that there were a lot of rumors about. Pretty much the whole story has been leaked, from what I can gather, for The Last of Us 2. And it's got some people up in arms and riled up. So yeah, be careful out there, because there might well be spoilers anywhere. But it seems like the game is going to be controversial, to say the least.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you could. There's loads of like movies or games or TV shows or any kind of media where if you just put the plot into like 10 bullet points and said this happens, a lot of things could sound silly. And sound like, really, like, or that sounds so bad. So a lot of people sort of overreacting, I think, to just sort of being shown the bare minimum. This is what happens in the story.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, like if you look at Naughty Dog's last 5-6 games,
Yeah.
that they've brought out have all been incredible. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird to just go, oh, this one's going to be the one that's terrible.
Yeah, just to assume that it's suddenly going to be terrible. And I feel like you could probably put The Last of Us into bullet points on a bit of paper and it sound not that interesting. It's how you get there and how these characters develop that you kind of is what makes it so special. So I don't see why it would be any different with part 2. Now, by all means, I might be completely eating my words here, but when it does come out and it's this absolute disaster of a game, however, I'd be very surprised if that was the case. And I'm still ridiculously excited to get back around to it. 7 years.
Yeah, super excited. Just like, I guess the thing is just, Reddit, the Last of Us Reddit's totally turned off any comments. You can't you can't have seen because people have just been going in and like spoiling everything left, right, center. But yeah, it's like Twitter. Like Twitter's a minefield. Just mute words, basically.
Yeah.
If you're worried about being spoiled for it, but
for
and
sure.
if you've seen it, if you've seen what the ending is and you don't like it, just chill out.
Yeah, chill out. Keep it to yourself.
It's not a big deal.
And yeah, exactly. Just continue living, So I think that's the main game stuff.
Perfect.
Let me think.
Ready for a game?
Pardon?
Ready for a game?
Yeah.
Ready for a game?
Let me quickly one last thing before we play a game. Let me just quickly talk about This Week in Dreams.
Oh, of course.
Yes, This Week in Dreams. So I'm bringing here this. This is a real classic from the beta days of Dreams, which is called Slayer Scrolls, and it's called Slayer Scrolls an RPG, and it was one of, I think when I downloaded it, it was one of the first ones I ever saw on the store there, and it's very much a riff off kind of Skyrim. So you've got this snowy walled city with like thatched houses and stuff, but it was just a very impressive first stab at something, and I know they've been updating it quite a lot as they've been going along, and there is actually a sequel, Slayer Scrolls 2, which is out, but I really enjoyed it, and I thought if you go into Dreams not having a clue what it is, but just knowing that people can make games in it or make things in it, when you see that this has like a full-on quest system with conversations and stuff, it was a pretty impressive thing to see, even though now currently there's more impressive things that have come along. Definitely something worth checking out to see the kind of history of it. I've got here first published 15th of January 2019.
Nice.
And that is by Life Took Lemons. So all one word, Life Took, and then TOOK, Lemons.
So life didn't give you lemons.
It took lemons. Exactly. Damn. So you can find them on the indreams.me website. So that's This Week in Dreams.
Perfect.
So
time for a game.
Let's play a game. Yeah.
So we are going to play Boss or Dross.
Okay. The classic.
So obviously we're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake a little bit after this. But what I thought I'd do is I would have Boss or Dross based on bosses from the original Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
So, are you ready? Obviously, the way the game works, you tell me boss if you think it is a real boss from Final Fantasy VII, and you say Dross if you think I have made it up or it's a boss that's not in the game.
Perfect.
Question 1.
Yeah.
Left field. What's Timothée Chalamet's favourite food?
Ooh, Timothée Chalamet's favourite food is definitely, he's just a cool guy, so he really enjoys just a simple beans on toast.
Wow. I'll tell you what, if we do some Googling later and we find out that Chalamet loves beans on toast, I'll be amazed.
Favourite food? I've Googled it. Is there anything about...
I bet he loves avocado.
Apparently he loves bagels.
Oh, fair enough.
Favourite food, Italian food. Interesting. Yeah, Italian food or bagels. Not quite beans on toast.
You could have beans on bagels, I guess.
Beans on bagels? Yeah. For a New York spin on it.
Right, real question 1. So,
yeah.
Boss or Dross? Number 1.
Number 1.
Guard Scorpion.
Okay. This is annoying because I've just played all of the remake. So if any of these are bosses from that and I've got it wrong, it's really bad if I get it wrong. I know I fought a robot that was guarding something that looked like a scorpion. So this is either just a very good description of that boss or it's actually their name. So I'm going to say it's a boss.
You say it's boss?
Yeah.
It is a boss. Of course it is.
It's
first boss in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I wasn't sure if it was given some like RK564, but it's just called it. Oh, the guard scorpion.
Okay, so you're 1 correct so far. Okay, number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2 is called Demon's Gate.
Demon's Gate. I'm gonna say Dross. However, I think it's actually a boss in Final Fantasy XII.
Okay. It is a boss.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a little bit later on. I think it's like you're escaping the Temple of the Ancients. I think it's like one of those things that's in quite a lot of the games. So I think like it was in this one, it's in 12. Like, do you know what I mean?
Do you know
it's
what I was thinking of? What I meant in 12?
Demon Wall.
Demon Wall.
Yeah, Demon Wall. And like the first time you have to run from it.
Yeah. You can actually beat it though, and then you get a special sword, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's like a thing in the games, like
fine,
like walls and stuff like that. Anyway, so you got that wrong. That's a real
shame.
boss.
That is a shame.
Number 3, Heidegger.
Heidegger.
Yeah.
Well, Heidegger's that big bad guy. You've got to fight him at some point, so I'm going to say boss. You've got to.
Okay, it's actually Dross.
No.
Now there is a bit of a thing with this one because you do fight him, but he's like in a big robot, and you don't. The name of the boss is the robot, not him.
This is Trixie.
I'm just going by the. I just went on to. I typed in what are the bosses, and
I feel cheated by this.
So 2 wrong, 1 right. Number 4 is Dyne.
Can you spell that for me?
Yeah. Dyne.
Dross. Because
Dross?
Isn't that something in Undertale?
I don't know. It might be.
Hold on. Let me open up a different tab, not Timothée Chalamet.
While you're typing,
it's Undyne. Is the
Undyne? You're wrong.
It's a boss.
Dyne is a boss from Final Fantasy VII.
This is going
really
terribly.
Really good bit actually. It's a really good character moment for Barrett a bit later in the game.
I see.
Not too much later. Fairly soon after the remake ends. Okay. Number 5. There's 10 in total, by the way.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Genova Cloud.
This is so hard, this game. So I know there is something called Genova. Or at least in the remake.
You fought a bit of Genova in the remake.
Yeah. Genova Cloud. I'm going to go with Dross.
Yeah, it's Dross.
Yeah. Excellent. What a ridiculous name. You know, we'd never have a boss called that.
I think that would have been... I was thinking that might be quite good, like, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Anyway, number 6. Number 6 is Shinra President.
You're killing me with these. You're killing me. I'm... Dross.
Dross, you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dross.
Yes.
You don't fight, remember, because when you get to him,
Spoilers.
already killed him. Well, it's remake. It's remakes. You know, the game came out in 1997.
Yeah.
All right, number 7. Red 14.
Ha. Red 13's older brother. I'm going to say that is a boss.
Red 14?
No, it's a dross.
It's dross.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's dross. I made that up. Well, what do I say? I think I've got to take first answer there.
Oh, what? But I didn't lock it in.
Okay, I'll give you that.
All right, thanks. I need the help.
Yeah, you're not doing too well. Number 8 is Lifeform Hojo.
Lifeform Hojo rings a bell. Hojo. Why does that ring a bell?
Because he is a character in the game.
Okay.
He's like the scientist.
Okay, I'm going to say that is a boss.
It is a boss.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, he goes all crazy.
Who's Hojo again? Sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Hojo, he's the scientist who captures everything.
Yeah, the guy who laughs maniacally when when anything happens. I'm with you.
He's pretty like deep Final Fantasy VII lore.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, number 9. Genova Death.
This one I'm feeling confident. And I'm going to say that's a boss.
It is a boss.
Yes.
Yeah,
is that the one we fought in the remake?
No.
Okay.
Genova Death's like, I think it's pretty near the end of the game, actually. I think the one we fought in the remake was Genova, like Dreamweaver or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Something like that. Number 10.
Yeah.
Last one.
Hit me. How am I doing, by the way?
You've got 5 correct, and then 6 if I count that one.
If you're being kind.
Changed at the last minute, yeah. So, number 10.
Yeah.
Undead Aerith.
Oh my god. The spoilers. Undead Aerith. It's got to be Dross.
Yeah, it's Dross. Can you imagine that?
I would love it. I would love it so much.
If like end of disc 1, and then like you boot up disc 2 and like straight away. No, yeah, that's Dross.
That is so silly, Chris. So silly.
So 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
7.
Not bad.
Not
bad at all.
Final Fantasy VII. Well done.
See, that's what I was actually aiming for. It was
the number you were supposed to get. Yeah,
exactly. I was just quite distracted whilst I was thinking about my score. There's old photos of Selena Gomez and Timothée Chalamet kissing are going viral again. The headline.
They're going viral.
Yeah, so going again. They're old photos. So wow, it just caught my eye. 7 out of 10. Now
my favourite thing about Timothée Chalamet before.
Yeah, I think it's actually Chalamet.
Is it? I thought it was Chalamet.
No. It's Chalamet. Chalamet.
What's the thing in Uncharted? Shambhala.
Timothée Shambhala.
My favourite thing was a couple of years ago. I think there was like a girl on a plane, and she was like sat next to him on a flight for like the whole thing, and she was like, "Oh my god, this guy looks so familiar." And then she like kept on like looking over at his phone while he was on it, and she noticed that when he was on Instagram, it was like his account that he was on.
Yeah.
And then she requested to. I can't remember, or she like sent him a message on it, and then she was like there next to him, and then they just chatted for the whole flight.
Amazing.
I thought that's quite cool.
Amazing. He's a cool guy. Got a chiseled face as well. Very angular.
Yeah. What's the film that's really old that he was in?
Interstellar. He's the boy.
Yes. He was the son before he grows up. Before he becomes Casey Affleck.
Yeah, before he becomes an absolute arsehole.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
Casey's
film.
nuts. Yeah. He's the son who he gets the truck to he gets to be the driver
When
of
they
the truck.
when they're getting the drone
yeah,
at the beginning. Nice.
Cool. 7 out of 10. That is a very respectable score, I'd say.
It is.
In
I'd
my
say
opinion.
it is.
Yeah. Well, that nicely brings us on to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I think is the game that's dominated both of our gaming landscapes for the last couple of weeks. I finished it and I think I clocked in at 37 and a half hours, I think.
Yeah, I think I was pretty similar, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Definitely less than 40.
Yes, yeah. So I want to come at this with mainly kind of getting your thoughts on how you feel the remake went, because you're the one who has the history with 7 as one of your favourite games, I'm right in thinking?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like full disclosure straight away, I'm a massive fanboy of this game.
Yes.
I have a literal tattoo on my arm.
Yes, you do actually. I completely forgotten the fact you had that. So when I've been texting you these complaints about it, I'm physically hurting your arm. No, I'll obviously chime in with a few of my own comments as well, because I say one of the reasons why I kind of played it. I went in without having played 7 and not really having any connection whatsoever to it, and I thought it would be good for us to have someone's opinion. Well, someone play it who doesn't have any connection, someone who has a lot of connection, and see how that differs. And I'll explain about that in a minute. But yeah, tell me what your thoughts are. Just off the bat, kind of let's go with, do you think this game brought to life the original game in a PS4 generation, kind of in that way?
Yeah, I think that's one of probably like its biggest strengths in a way.
Yeah.
Is the fact that it was able to take, obviously, as has been said loads, take this tiny section, probably like 5 or 6 hours of the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, and make a game that takes 36, 37 hours to complete. And I think it really does such a good job of actually making Midgar as a place feel like, oh, yeah, I actually, you kind of like talk to these old NPCs in the PS1 version, but now it's like, oh, I can see what they're doing with their life. I can see where you're going, where you go to eat on an evening. I can see what you're doing for entertainment. Like, I think it did such a good job of making Midgar a place that was worthy of actually looking at. And it's kind of like a silly, like if you just looked at Midgar, it's like, oh, it's taking this energy from the earth, and then the richer people live on these huge plates that are sort of like built above these like slums. It's like kind of crazy, but then I don't know. I never while I was playing it, I never sort of thought like, this is really silly. I mean, there are certain points that are silly plot wise, but like I was never like, this is weird that there's these slums underneath these rich areas. It was just that's just how this is, and everyone kind of like gets on with it.
Yeah, I think it's very convincing in that regard of feeling like a real place and a location where that you have different classes of people living and this corporation sucking up the planet and stuff. I think it all feels very tangible and very real.
Yeah, and I think some of the additions that they made to the game really helped with that. For example, there's a whole section they add in when you're with Aerith at first, after the church bit where you meet her for the second time, where they add in a whole section where Aerith kind of helps out at this like kind of, I got the impression it was like an orphanage.
Yeah, because I think what's his name, Briggs is it? No, what's
Biggs.
Biggs mentions, oh, there's this orphanage, you need to go and see, kind of
and like that is totally new and something they completely added into it, and it's something that just felt so like, this place is super grim and there's monsters, and there's gonna be a load of kids who don't have their parents anymore, and I kind of really liked that sort of addition to it. That's the sort of addition they added that was like, wow, this really fleshes out this world, makes Aerith immediately such a more like a nicer character, someone who's because there's times like in the original where you don't really get as much warmth from her,
Mm.
And that's something I think
this was in abundance in this game.
Yes.
She was a glowing ray of sunshine the whole time.
Yeah, and I think they totally knew what they were doing with that. And if you're someone who doesn't know the game, and I mean, to be honest, if you're someone who's super into gaming and you don't know the culmination of the story with her, like I'd be surprised.
Yeah,
but I think they're doing such a cool job of like setting you up for stuff in the future that is going to be really weighty and emotional. And I think actually that point I've just said there is probably the biggest strength, and also like maybe the biggest weakness of the game for me.
Yeah.
Is that, so much of this stuff, like making Aerith so nice and such a joy to be with, like all those bits that were kind of dull where you're like going through the underground, moving these big hands so that you can get her to there, that kind of is like, oh, I'm just sort of doing something for no reason, just to make this bit a bit longer. But the fact that you're there and you've got the little banter between Cloud and Aerith, like, makes it so enjoyable. Whereas like the fact that everything is being set up for the future, and we know how long this game took to make.
Yeah.
When is there going to be part 2 of this remake? Like, that's one of the biggest things for me, where I'm like, oh my God, I just want the next bit.
I think that's totally valid, because one of the comments I was going to say about the Aerith stuff is I loved how it contextualized her in her town. Like, without not having the backstory, I wasn't sure if Aerith was known as the town goody two shoes, but in like not in a negative way, in a good way kind of type of thing. And I totally got that from this game, and it sounds like it's massively from the stuff they've added in here to make it sound like she is this little poster girl for the town that everyone loves. She always just does all really helpful stuff and really good. And that the game did a great job of that, because I had no idea that it was a new thing that had been added with their orphanage and stuff. So that was obviously really well done, because I had no idea about it. And
I kind of like how people like call out, like when you're running through the slum for the first time when you're with Aerith, and people are just going, "Oh, hey Aerith, pop back anytime." Oh, how are you?
Who's this new guy with you,
Aerith?
Like, and yeah. Definitely. No, it's very good. But
he's got that's a big sword.
Yeah. If I have to hear, the monster board has been updated with the latest numbers one more time. Oh, I'm gonna off the back of your second comment was, I totally agree as well in that. I think it's so tricky to kind of think about this game and as a whole, because of the fact there's so much weight coming down the line with it. I in my head, I keep on going backwards and forwards between whether I want to feel critical towards Square Enix for releasing this game and talking nothing about the future, whether I think that's a really terrible idea that they've done, or whether I think that it's genius that they've done that, or whether I think it's dodgy that they've done that, and kind of or why they called this Final Fantasy VII Remake and not Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. Like, is that disingenuous for doing that, or does that not matter at all? And it doesn't matter, kind of. And that's where I think just this is so unprecedented in a game series for this to be done. We've seen these with things like Walking Dead games, where you have a series of them where it'd be 5 episodes of the game come out over the course of maybe a year. Maybe this, in terms of if we just go by what's happened so far with the game and how long it took to get this part out, this should take a decade to finish.
Yeah.
With how much is still left.
I think it will.
Which is, could we see this? There's a chance you could see this start on the PS4 and finish on the PS6, which is mental. And I don't know. We'll only be able to say kind of whether it was a great success and a good thing that they did this by the end of it, or kind of at least maybe slightly better knowing by part 2. But I think it's somewhat risky and a bit kind of scary as well, being like, all right, we've done this now, we're raring to go for the next part. When's that going to be? 2023, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with that in terms of it being like risky, because like I don't know what you mean by like risky, because obviously
I
like
think
this game in terms of like sales and like numbers, it's
absolutely.
certainly like it's certainly like no risk in terms of that. But I definitely agree in terms of like if this had taken us up to the end. So Final Fantasy VII originally was on 3 discs. With the vast majority of the story being on 1 and 2, and disc 3 was kind of like the ending of the game, and then like post game like big super bosses and stuff like that. If this game had taken us like up to the end of disc 1, so the remake I mean, or like very near the end of there, or just a bit further on, I'd be like, okay, cool, because I feel like we've got a fair bit done. But the fact that it is just like literally 5-6 hours, at the most of that first disc, makes me, for people that know the game fairly well, it just makes you think, wow, this if they went at this pace, there will be 6-7 parts.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think there will. I think there will be 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think obviously, and you know, I think they're going to end up. I think it's going to be brilliant. I think the next part will obviously there'll be a huge amount done. There will be the huge moment that everyone is waiting for, and then they will also like crack on. And I think there will be certain things that are skipped in terms of like going to places and then back and forth. I think it'll be like you'll see specific places like Calm and Nibelheim, and then obviously going off to like Bone Village, all this sort of stuff. And I think that will happen. Obviously, like Cosmo Canyon section, the why can't I think, the Golden Saucer. Like, I think all of that has to be in the next game.
Okay.
So I think you're not going to have. It's like people saying, how is like the like world map? How is that going to look? I don't think there's going to be one.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a case of we've left Midgar now. And then the story will just take us to Calm, to Nibelheim, to these places. I don't think we're going to have that freedom, which I think is going to be a big thing that people probably push back on. But
sure.
Yeah,
interesting. And one thing I was just going to say then is I don't think we won't go into full spoilers for this here because it is still such a new game.
Yeah.
Do you think? How do you feel?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think maybe let's talk a bit about like the game itself, and then kind of do a semi spoiler warning, and just to talk about
some of
not
the
like
end
fully
parts
spoil
and
everything,
stuff.
but the ending. Yeah.
I think that's cool. So in terms of gameplay and stuff, quite a change from the original. Because I'm right in thinking the original is a classic ATB gorge turn-based. The second your gorge gets filled up, you can do your attack or do your thing, and it all goes in order of who's got the highest speed type of thing.
Yeah, it's super funny because if you boil it down to, that it's actually kind of the same. Obviously it's not,
you're right.
Like
actually,
so different, but it's
right.
like you wait for your ATB to fill up, and then you can do your attack, do your ability, use your magic, use an item, which is exactly the same, except obviously there's kind of other things thrown in the remake. But it's the what you think of when you think of like a classic Final Fantasy combat. Exactly, like 4 to 10 pretty much have the same thing. The ATB gauge, you select the party member, what action they're going to take that turn. But obviously then things added in, like the normal attack has just been then mapped onto like square.
With an alternative on triangle, isn't it?
Yeah, alternative, and then it depends like which character you're using, what the alternative is and stuff. And there's just so much. I think there's a lot of emphasis put into, and especially as you get further on in the game, and this is something that like I ended up dying loads in the sort of last maybe like quarter of the game. When it sort of kind of when it goes like when like JRPGs go boss rushy kind of. It's like okay, you've done most of the game, now it's like boom, you're going to get to the end and it's just like boss battle. I was like I was constantly like dying because the game really wants you to be tactical and to think about, right, what should Barrett be doing while Cloud is there doing damage per second, and what should Tifa be doing, and so it gets really quite, especially the Hojo section when you're controlling like one half of the party 1 minute, and then you have to change to the other guys, and then like they'll do a boss battle. I thought that whole section was really cool, especially when you have the actual boss come out at the end, and like you do the first half of the fight with Cloud and Barrett, I think, and then the rest of the guys finish it off. And that was cool. I really like how it changed perspective like that. But yeah, the combat for me, I've been thinking about this more and more, because while I was playing it, I was thinking, damn, I'm getting like a bit frustrated every now and then with certain, like for example the Tombury fight. Oh man, it was so funny. I had this, like, I think it's like chapter 14 when you have loads of side quests. Yeah, and one of them is you do the Tombury fight, and Tombury's a classic Final Fantasy enemies where they'll just like one hit KO you, but they're really slow at walking.
His design in this is so good. When I saw him pop up on the field, because there's a load of like kind of bad boy guys, the bandits kind of standing around it, and then there's this tiny little green Tomboy. He looks like a little bit of green like plasticine or something, with a little lamp and a little chef's knife, kind of like walking towards you. Like, I thought, just picturing it in the world was so funny, threatening, and amazing at the same time.
There's something actually that I really love personally about this game is the moments where like you've got you're having these characters whose lives are being turned upside down by huge, events that are going on, people dying left, right, and center, and all this, and then the next minute it's like, oh, Cloud, I saw some bandits going over to Aerith's house. So you go, and then these bandits are like, oh, that's the guy with the gun on the arm. Right. Release it. Get out the way, like that. And this Tombury just starts like ambling towards you. So like. There was probably like an hour and a half where I was doing that side mission, and then another thing, and I was just getting I like couldn't do anything right in the game, and I was getting so frustrated. Then I waited like 2 days, put it back up, beat everything first time, and I was like, easy. Like it was one of those classic, when you get so frustrated, then you just need to sort of like
put it down,
walk away.
Absolutely.
The combat, I just, like I said, I was getting frustrated at points, but I was never, ever in a point where I was like, oh, this is kind of dull. Or I was never at a point where I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go out and grind for 5 hours. Like, I never felt the need to go and grind at all. I don't know if you felt that at all in the game.
Absolutely the same. Yeah, I think both of... I certainly had a few more issues, kind of, I think, overall with how the combat worked. But I think it was more my issues are how it's presented almost. But in terms of the two things you just said there, for sure, totally agree. And I never felt the need that I needed to go and grind. I always felt like I was progressing forwards with it and learning stuff as I was going along, all the way up until the very end. And never at any point I would consider it in the slightest bit dull. It's very, very engaging, always active, always having to do stuff in it, which... because I don't feel like any of the fights were like really long. Like I don't think any were I would even consider long. Like maybe some were maybe getting a bit to the point of being quite long, but generally speaking, it's none of your like 3 hour long slog fest against certain hunts in other Final Fantasy games and stuff like that.
Like in 12 and games like that, yeah. But this is what I think. And I think if I was going to pick, if I had to pick like two things that I love about this game that I could then suggest it to someone else to play, because for me, other stuff would be the best thing about it, because I love 7 and the lore behind it and that.
Yeah,
but
of course.
The two things I would pick would be the combat. I think if you like for me, coming off recently playing early ones, it felt that it was like almost like a nod, like a sort of like a sort of tip of the hat to what came before, as well as saying this is how we could do it potentially. And it's 100% not perfect. For example, the summons. Again, I still really hate how modern Final Fantasies do summons. Really hate, and I didn't like it in this one either. 15 was terrible, and this one, in terms of summons, and this one is kind of similar, and I wasn't hugely on it. But the combat I think is fantastic, and the other thing is the boss battles. Like I think there was maybe one boss battle off the top of my head that I wasn't super keen on. in the whole game, and the rest of them I just thought was so good. And like you said, I think some of them were fairly long, but they just kept changing everything up.
Yeah,
like the guard scorpion at the beginning, or I can't remember the name. Is it Apps? The one that you fight like underneath in the sewers that you actually fight twice.
Yeah.
Like the second time, it's just got so many different, almost like modes that you have to then completely change how you're reacting, and that just kept you on your toes. And I loved it. The only time that I didn't enjoy a boss fight, I think, was the first fight with Reno in the church.
In the church, yeah.
I wasn't. I think that could have been done better, especially because that whole bit is quite like an iconic moment in the game where you fall and you land in the church area there, and that was the only one off the top of my head that I wasn't keen on. And every other boss fight just I loved, absolutely loved it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really fair point as well. I think I'd agree with you quite a lot on that. With the boss battles, especially. I was going to say especially towards the latter half of the game, but I think that's also links in with when I understood that the game isn't an action game, and that when an ATB bar fills up, you use it straight away. You don't leave these things unused. When I realized that that's how you're meant to play it, it all clicked a lot more, and it all made a lot more sense. And it was suddenly much, like, I'm going to put in quotes, kind of easier to play when you were, you use your attacks to fill your bar, to then use the bar straight away. And that's the same for every character. So when someone else fills up, you switch to them, use their whatever ability you want to use. Like, the whole game is about doing that, which is the kind of what you were saying, that nod to the old style games, because that's how you play old style Final Fantasies. And I think then when I understood that, which was probably only like when I really got my head around that, like halfway through, all of the boss battles then suddenly did become more engaging and more interesting to me, because I was realizing that, I was trying to find these break points or change up who was doing what attacks, whether it was magic or physical or fire or ice or whatever, kind of. For sure. That I think I think that's most of the. Was there anything else you would want to talk about on the fight and the combat side of it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously there's in terms of just the gameplay wise, there's obviously you get quests in certain chapters. There's also a few there's a few mini games here and there. So there's the darts where you just, it's like, I know, I quite liked it. I sat there, I think there was a trophy for it, so I just played it until I got the trophy, but I was like, oh, it's pretty good dart sim.
Yeah, it was quite fun actually, yeah.
There was the whack-a-box that the kids do.
Oh yes, yeah.
Did you do that at all? Did you do that, Matt?
I did. Well, I got the trophy the first time I did it, so then I was like, oh, I don't think I need to do this anymore, type of thing.
Yeah, I think I was like a little bit off the trophy the first time, so I went back later on and did it, and I was like, oh man, so good. Then the squat and pull-up challenges exist in the game. Yeah, they're there.
You love them, don't you, Chris?
When I was saying I was getting frustrated earlier, it was like I was trying to do that pull-up challenge, the final one. Yeah. And I must have spent, so I probably beat the game in like 37, 38 hours, and I reckon probably about 2 hours. Yeah. It was me just hitting these buttons, trying to do it, and then just watching Tifa fall down. And I was just like, I was getting getting so angry.
If you get something wrong and she falls off, it is the most soul-destroying thing that ever happens.
It got to the point where I worked out how much time would need to be left for it to be worth it to reload, or to let the timer just go out. Oh my god!
And that, I was just going to say, that is one of the most infuriating things, is that if you give up, the loading time to get back to the beginning is so long that I would debate, just like you, whether I was going to give up or whether I was just going to make myself lose, because it's quicker to lose and get back into it than quit.
Problem is, it got to the point where I was giving up because I couldn't deal with his fucking grin when he won. Every time, because Tifa falls to her knees and he's there just grinning, and I was like, I can't deal with this. But yeah, I still haven't beaten him. But one day I'll come back and I will win that.
You'll whoop his ass.
Yeah, mate. I was, apparently it was the strategy that I got was to turn off the game audio, while doing it, because apparently the rhythm of you hitting the buttons is better than the music in the game.
Because I
still couldn't do it, man.
I was so confused for a long time when doing it, because it felt like, even though it's not this, it felt like you follow like a triangle, circle, square, X, triangle, circle, square, X. You follow that.
Yeah.
But what's happening is, and then I felt like I was like, I'm just kind of pressing it, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just press it quicker, and I did it, and I was like, I'll just do it as quick as I can, and it kept up with it. And then it turns out that it is actually getting quicker each time, so it's meant to naturally pick up. But I felt like the first once or twice that I did it, I felt like I could just start, follow it, and then just go to the fastest I possibly could, and it would work. And that really flew through me. I think I may have just either glitched slightly or something didn't go right, and it threw me so badly.
Yeah. The thing that annoys me is that he's programmed to do between 38 and 48 pull-ups. Yeah?
Okay.
So this is how deep I got into it. I was like, trawling through Reddit So he's programmed to do between 38 and 48, I think.
Yeah.
And I got 44, 40 to 44, like over 10 times. But every time I got that, he beat me.
Oh my God.
And not once did he drop below the like average of what he could get for me to fucking win. And I honestly, man, I got so angry. I had to turn it off. I took like a 2-day break from the game because of it.
I feel like I beat him on like a 43, 42 or 44, 43 or something. It was quite, but I only won it because he fell, I think, at like 38 or something like that.
Yeah, the timing of his second fall is big as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I think we've talked enough about that. The other thing
go on.
I was just going to briefly mention about materia and item upgrading.
Oh yeah.
Because I was obviously going in fresh, kind of without any expectation of it. And I enjoyed these aspects. I feel like there was a couple of things I would have liked to have changed about them, but not so much that I was like, oh, I don't like them. I enjoyed them both as quite cool, compelling systems.
Yeah.
The upgrading of the weapons I thought was quite, okay, you get your points, you just spend it on whatever's the next thing there, kind of. So it was cool initially to see, but then I thought it wasn't quite as deep as maybe some of the other systems have been in it or something. But it was fun to have.
I think it just gives you that choice of being like, are you going to be like magic based for this character or physical based?
Yeah.
And then that was kind of the crux of the weapon upgrades, I think.
Yeah. The materia I liked. It took me a fair while to get my head around how it all really works, and that's not by how like, oh, you get points and it levels up and then you get a better version of the magic spell that's associated with that piece of materia. More of like how you want to be combining these things and using them and stuff.
Yeah.
And it took a little time to get used to that, but then once I did, I quite enjoyed it and quite enjoyed the challenge of having to manage some of the more powerful ones you have for certain people. What did annoy me though was the way the game decides so much to just pull characters away from you, so that you build a loadout for them and stuff, and now suddenly they're not available. So then you want to switch those good ones that you had on them back to these characters that you are playing with, but then oh no, you've got that character back, so now you've got to put it back on them, because the game broke up your party so often in it. That was frustrating for me, because I would often get the party together and then sit there for like 10 minutes, just put the game on pause and just go through, just strip off every materia and respec everyone out in perfect, kind of to get them as good as I could. And then it would suddenly all have to fall apart kind of a couple of minutes later or hours later. And the other thing which I would have liked to have seen, but again, I don't know, I feel like this might have just broken or it just wouldn't have worked, but something like an upgrade system for the materia. And now this is just the example I had, but I don't think it would actually work at all, would be, I often found that I had like 5 fire materia, but I would only ever use 2 of them, and those other ones are just kind of sitting there. So I would have wanted like, oh, if you've got 2, you can combine it into 1 and that automatically takes it up to fire up, or something like that, kind of, where these spare ones that aren't doing anything because you just have too many of them, you can do something with them other than just sell. But that again, maybe that's something which will come down the line, or or something. But how, from your side of it, then is materia identical to the way it works in 7, or is it quite different?
It's pretty similar. They've added a few specific things in terms of like, stuff where like you can have the one that I can't remember what they call it, but it's like linking. So for example, if your party leader uses fire and then someone else has something that can deal with the same elemental damage, then it can, like, they'll do something. So stuff like that they've added and improved. Added extra bits in it. But yeah, it pretty much works similar. The weapon upgrades as well allow you to like unlock materia slots, which is pretty cool, and that's something that wasn't in
nice. Okay.
the original. So being like, there's points where, like, I think it's like the mithril sword or something you get with Cloud. Like that sword, if you level that one up, you can have so much materia on it.
I think I had 5 or 6 by the end.
Yeah, and the big thing is having the ones that are like linked.
Yeah, that was that was my favorite part of materia, is using those, which are the blue ones.
Yes.
You have the 2 slots that link together, and then you have a blue one, which is basically a linking style. So, for example, you would have the elemental one, which would either make your weapon, if you put it in a weapon slot and linked it with fire, your weapon would be fire damage. Or if you put it in an armor slot, it would halve your damage from fire, and then that upgrades as well. Those blue materia, I loved. Every time I got one of those, I was always really interested in how I could change my dynamic kind of the team with those ones. I love those ones.
And it's this sort of thing where like you can be really rewarded for really putting time into learning all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But you totally don't need to.
No.
So it's one of those things, like, you can totally get through the game and not have to, and like just have really good fire spells and really good, like, do you know what I mean? You don't need to min max everything. You don't need to spend a long time studying it, because maybe you do if you like start again on hard. I imagine you probably do. But like the game, even on like not even on easy, on like the normal difficulty, you can pretty much like get through without having to worry too much about making sure you're really efficiently using all the materia. But I think really I just want to, like, because I'm trying to think any other stuff I really want to talk about. I kind of want to just talk about the game as a whole and kind of story stuff.
Yeah.
So I think just to like cap that bit that we've just talked about, like for me, I kind of like in my head, like, because I love 7's probably. I mean, I've always got a really soft spot for Final Fantasy 12 in my heart, because it was like the first one that I really played.
Everyone's got a soft spot for the first Final Fantasy they play.
Yeah. But I think 7 was the first one where I was like, oh, damn, this is cool. The story, like I love the story. And like for me, this just sort of like knocked it out of the park in terms of seeing these characters in like a modern style game and be done really well. So like for me, this game was just absolutely incredible. Like I can't imagine playing anything else this year that will beat this, or like, in terms of just like my enjoyment of seeing these things, hearing like, we didn't even talk about the music, but like for me, like hearing these themes like in an updated way, it's just like, oh, it was like sitting with your mates talking about stuff that you did in secondary school. It was like that kind of like
reminiscing
feeling of nostalgia. Yeah, that reminiscing feeling. So for me, like game, if I was to try and put my nostalgia away, I'd be like, yeah, I think this game is like a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah.
But with my fanboy head on, I'm like, this game is a 15 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know?
Gotcha, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think the other thing as well, for me, like, because 1997, I was 6 years old, so I wasn't playing this when it came out.
Yeah.
But like, it was huge. Like, this game was so big and just means so much to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, yeah, like the numbers behind, I was looking up like sales and stuff like that of like the original PS1 game, and it's crazy how much that game sold.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it's kind of like, I haven't looked at any recently actually, but like the fact that the sales have like kind of come over to this as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the fastest selling PS4 game or exclusive or something. There's some huge numbers for sales for sure. which is amazing to see. And I think it links into just the design of it and the history that the game has with people. So seeing these characters look nice now and brought to the big screen, kind of, I think that's naturally going to do really well. Definitely.
So, just very quickly then.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of playing this and you don't want to have any kind of inkling about what the rest, like kind of the ending is, or things that potentially might have changed from the original game, skip away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to spoil everything, but I just want to talk about a couple of the bits.
Yeah.
Especially with someone who didn't play the original game.
Exactly. So we're going to do 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Firstly, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. Final Fantasy
I mean,
16.
Is it? Yeah.
It's not a remake. It's a
Final
new game.
Fantasy VII 2.
Yeah. So,
you know.
So all of these exciting things that you can't wait to see in the next couple of games, they're just not going to happen, right? Because this game doesn't give a shit about that, and it does whatever the hell it wants, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I think obviously they've come out and said like, and the game will, the next games will have the same story beats and everything, but obviously, you know, kind of at the end of this game, you kind of destroy fate, you destroy like destiny, in a way. So kind of everything, you know, the characters are given glimpses of the end, like the end of the game. They're getting glimpses of, and so I think they kind of like the implication is that like they've kind of like Sephiroth, who's the main bad guy, kind of came back and has tricked them into kind of trying to stop the end of the original game. So yeah, that's kind of the plot of this, is that
it's wild.
The main bad guy is like trying to prevent the actual events of the original game from taking place. So pretty nuts.
Yeah, for sure. I was pretty confused by the ending. And yeah, I just didn't really know what to.
Not only do they sort of like go, oh yeah, by the way, you've destroyed fate, so any kind of like ending to the original game is now up in the air, which I don't really, obviously is not going to happen. Obviously the original game will be what happened, but they also then bring in like, oh, by the way, alternate reality, alternate timeline, like, do you know what I mean? It's like chucking all this stuff in, like throwing characters that you shouldn't know yet, and yeah,
so, definitely. There was so many. I can't get over the idea that this game is not meant for new players to Final Fantasy VII. I
100% would totally agree with you.
I just cannot see how anyone. I take back what I was about to say. I can see people who don't have any link to Final Fantasy VII really enjoying this game, absolutely. But I cannot expect anyone who doesn't have any link to Final Fantasy VII, like getting all of this game, because so much of it is just based on the rest of what happens with the game, it seems.
Yeah.
And I just lost my train of thought there.
No, I think you're right, just where you think, but like you know, there's so like the ending, obviously there's so much kind of like that you can guess and you can assume that they're going for, because obviously, you know, they've said in interviews and stuff they're kind of in like a lose in some way, because obviously if they just made a 1-for-1 remake, people might be like, oh right, you know, this is lazy, you could have just done this. And then if they do kind of what they've done, which is, you know, put their own spin and make little changes here and there, then obviously people are going to be upset as well. And I think it's bold. I think it's quite bold, and I think it's going to be quite a cool, like, and again, this is eventually it's going to be quite a cool payoff, but we don't know yet. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think one of the things which I've really struggled with is that when this was announced, I'd always been toying for the idea of playing Final Fantasy VII at some point. because I know so many people love it, and especially yourself, that when this got announced, I was like, oh, right, I'll just wait till that comes out then to play Final Fantasy VII, because I may as well experience it with nice HD graphics and stuff like that. And then waiting and then doing that, I feel like I've kind of done myself wrong doing that and going down that route, because this isn't Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not a remake of Final Fantasy VII. This is like a alternate spin and retelling.
I almost kind of, well, that's the thing. I almost kind of think it's like a joke, the title.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, oh, that's a joke. I think it's a joke, like as in, like, without trying to get like tinfoil hatty kind of thing, but like Sephiroth's trying to remake what happened in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know.
Definitely.
I think obviously you're never gonna, when you're marketing a game, you're never gonna say, oh yeah, probably best to not play this if you haven't played the original.
Yeah.
But I think they could have maybe downplayed the this is for new players as well as people who love the original. Definitely. I think it, because like, for example, for like the situation you just said, I think you're gonna enjoy this game so much more if you have played the original game.
Yeah.
And there's I can't imagine anyone really arguing with that.
No, absolutely. And no, I'd agree 100%. Even though I haven't played the original game, I can just tell, and you can just feel that it would have been better to have played it.
Yeah. And even like for me, for even the bits when it diverges, I still had those like shocked moments. For example, you like when all the stuff starts to go down at Shinra right at the end of the game, and we are getting in, I'm just gonna do little spoilers here, but hopefully when Sephiroth like kills Barrett, he stabs him, and Barrett dies. That does not happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen at all. And then those when those like ghost things came and like revived him, I was like, that's when it clicked for me, like what those are, what they're trying to do. And I was like, damn, because like when he stabbed Barrett, I was like, what the F? What are they trying to like? Are they trying to have their moment now? Because I think that's going to be one of the big things in the next game, is that I think they're going to toy with you as in you the player, thinking you can change what happens to certain characters. And I think obviously there's going to be that huge emotional moment where you're going, no, this thing has to happen to this character in order for you to win.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be some of the cool bits that can happen from going down this path.
Yeah.
It's having that sort of promise of, oh, maybe she can live. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Definitely.
Only to have to realise that no, she can't.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. Big stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I wonder Huge. When we are going to hear something about it.
I hope we hear something by the end of the year.
Yeah.
By the end of 2020.
Yeah. I would both be very surprised if we did, and both not surprised at all if we did, which is a complete contradictory statement. But
who knows?
It's the truth. A lot.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's any other stuff you wanted to say, really. I loved it. I love it so much, but I do have a literal tattoo of the art of the game on my body for all time. So take what I say with any grain of salt.
No, that's good stuff. No, I think that's pretty much everything. So that leaves us with one thing left to do, I think.
It's an important thing as well.
It is an important thing. Let's talk about bets. So last episode, we bet on what percentage of people would have the platinum trophy by the next time we recorded. Now I have gone on to for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now I have gone on to the game and I've looked at the platinum. I believe
Do you remember what? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I bet 0.8% and you bet 1.1%. Now the official result is 2.0%. So that is a
Get
win
in.
for yourself.
Get in.
Um,
It's a win for Hufflepuff.
a win for Hufflepuff. It's all he needed.
Oh, I should have looked at the score. Is it now? Were you 30-10 up?
I think that rings a bell.
I think
that
you
does
were.
ring a bell.
I think so. That means it's now 30-20, and
Yeah.
it brings me to a really important point here before we talk about the next bet.
Yeah.
What house would Timothée Chalamet be
Shambhala be.
if he was at Hogwarts?
Surely he's a Ravenclaw.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that you said that. That's what I was thinking.
Is Snape the head of Ravenclaw? Or is that just terrible?
That is awful. Yeah, that's
Who's the head of Ravenclaw?
Slytherin? He's the head of.
Oh,
oh
now
my
I'm
God.
I'm thinking Slytherin now because he
No.
looks a bit like him. He's got that pale, chiselly face.
Yeah, but Slytherin is supposed to be like cunning and sly.
Yeah, he's not. That.
I don't get that. I think he's quite warm. But do you get an intelligence from him? Because that's Ravenclaw's thing, like intelligence.
He's well. I see him as a pure thespian, so he must be quite intelligent to work out all of those stage directions, all at the same time.
I mean, I don't know about his sexuality, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So next bet, next time. Come on, I can make it. I can draw level next episode with this bet.
We recently found out that May's PlayStation Plus games are going to be Cities Skyline and Farming Simulator 19.
Thank you, Sony, for that.
Yeah,
during lockdown, just two absolutely games I can't wait to play.
Yeah. I'm actually quite excited for Cities Skyline, but that's a side note. Farming Simulator 2019, though. Here we go. We want to talk about this.
Yeah.
The bet that we have is next time we record, we're going to go on Twitch and we're going to search for Farming Simulator 2019, and we're going to guess at how many people are viewing that game at that time. So will this PlayStation Plus free game suddenly shoot its viewership up to the hundreds of millions? Probably not. But we'll take a stab at it. So have you got a number in mind?
Yeah. I haven't really been thinking. I've just been thinking now, but I'm thinking, now it's free. I bet there's some people that love Farming Simulator. The big question does Farming Simulator 20 exist? Because if Farming Simulator 20 exists, then I feel like this might be, I don't know if you can just quickly, are we allowed to know that?
I believe it does. It came out in December 2019, which would lead me to believe that this is now a year and a half old game.
Okay, I'm going to say there will be 71 people watching
damn.
Farming Simulator 19.
I was going to go for something around like that. So
yeah, I was going to say 69, but I thought I'd be mature, so I went 71.
Okay. I'm going to say that Farming Simulator 2019 will have 45 viewers. I've gone even lower.
It's going to have none. That's going to be
exactly.
There'll probably be like 3 people playing it, but no one will be watching.
You know what? Farming Simulator 2019. It's got a 64 Metacritic on PlayStation 4.
That's right.
That's not bad.
Can you tell me the user score?
5.2.
Ah, okay, that's
quite
disappointing.
mixed. I'll give you a hold on. Let me see here.
Oh, you're going to give me a review bomb right now? A live review bomb?
Yeah, but it's going to be quite tricky. There's only 1 0 out of 10. You ready for this?
Oh, okay, go on.
Pior jogo do mundo. Puta que puerio. Now merece mem pucho se da PlayStation Store su lixo do curl.
Wait, I think I know who wrote that.
Who?
Timothée Chalamet.
Yes.
He hated Farming Simulator 19.
He did, famously.
That's the final bit of information about him that we've found out today.
Yeah. And he goes by the name Bizarre 1411 on Metacritic.
Yeah, that makes sense because that was his first line in Interstellar as well.
Exactly. Bizarre 1411. But Daddy, why is the tractors going wrong?
That was the name of the drone that he
it
saw.
all links into him being on a farm in Interstellar.
Damn.
With tractors.
Well, that's the thing. 'Cause he hates 19, but 20 apparently is a big improvement. So
Yeah, and actually, I did just see on Wikipedia, he's actually one of the lead developers of Farming Simulator 2020.
Damn.
But 19
so
was
intelligent.
done
That's
by-
why he's a Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Right, those are locked in. I want to stop talking about Farming Simulator games.
Next time we record and we talk about what we've played, I will have put at least 20 hours into Farming Simulator 19.
My God,
I'll
if you
have brought-
have,
I'm
I'll
g-
be so
well,
impressed.
I need to get a big Twitch following so that I can beat you in the bet as well. That's the problem.
I love it. That is dedication to the bet.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, I think that about does it for this episode. So, Christopher, where can people find us?
Yes, you can find us on our lovely website, which is indreamsclub.com, where you can see where all the podcasts are. You can listen to our new episode of Realise, which came out the other day, where we talk about all the
Various
TV,
different
films,
things.
and books
Yeah.
that we've been looking at during the lockdown. You can follow us on Twitter at In Dreams Club. They'll follow you back straight away. I'm pretty sure. I know the guy who runs it, so they will follow you.
He's a good lad.
That's the core.
Yeah,
the
that's
core of our presence. YouTube as well. Actually, I'm slowly putting up the old Realise episodes and podcasts onto YouTube.
Excellent stuff.
So you can find us there if you look for In Dreams Club.
Fantastic. And brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Chris, as always. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Protect the NHS and save lives. And that about does it. So thank you very much. And thank you for listening. Bye.
And he's walked off. So I'm sat here looking at myself in Skype, talking to myself. We're probably a month and a half into lockdown and sort of losing my mind a little bit, but I'm okay. He's back now. Thank God. I was so alone.